listen harder. Let's not have excessive speed on return lanes. Keep the speed down. And return lanes, if you lose, you go into the pit. If you win, you come down this lane here. We have second place prize again this week, so if you get second place, come up here and pick up your second place prize. We can get you on the camera. Winner two, come and get your trophy. Come through and go through on this lane here. We don't want any spinning of the tires out here in this area. And we don't want any dailies up in the paved area up here. Keep them all down on the ice. Change them before you go up there. And the bikes, we want them to walk them in. They were all doing it today. When you leave, walk them out, don't ride them out. And watch your lights on the start. The starter is going to point at you, point at one guy, and then point at the next guy. And when he does that, keep your eyes on that light, because he's not going to wait for you to look again. When your class is called or posted on the board, please line up right away. Don't sit there front row waiting for everybody else to line up first. Just pull up and line right away. Wear your seatbelts if you have them. Make sure you got them buckled. In modified class, make sure you're wearing your crash helmets. That's all I got. Is there any questions or things you want to ask?
Okay, so the bike guy, first class 0 to 175, they got 9 people. They'll be going for a trophy. All the rest of the class got 5. They want to kick in an extra $1 run for a trophy. More than one of them. You know, that's what we decide to do. Otherwise, you're running for money. So after the meeting here, just stop over here. See me.
For motorcycles. Motorcycle. Okay. Does anybody here have any gas you could borrow or buy or steal?
I got something.
Okay. She needs some gas. Now, another thing too, I know last week the lanes were pretty unfair. It was not due to our thing. Now, what do you think? You were practicing the lanes. Were they fairly equal this week or not?
Yeah, a lot better than you were last week.
Are they good enough? I don't know. Who's satisfied? Wait. Wait. Yeah, they'll be close. Anything else? Any questions on how you do things here? Okay, if not, go racing.
Second weekend of 1982 Merrill Ice Drags. Once again, we want to thank all of you for coming out to watch today, and the fellows are off. Both lanes were flooded over the week, so this week it should be a little closer. Last week you had a tough time going in lane number 2, but this week they're both pretty well iced up there, but it does look like Phil Smith and his VW has got a couple lengths over there on Tom Stockowitz and Stockton. And Bill Smith in lane number 1 goes through for the win. Those boys are off and running. Could be just a dandy afternoon. Looks like Jim Marsh is out there to a good start. Scott Beal getting a little crossed up in there looking for some snow for that VW square back to fight into. Looks like a real close race down there. Looks like Jim Marsh by maybe a car length down there in lane number 2. And Jim Marsh going through. Whoa, the lights are on. Leroy Toller, I believe it is, or Lawler. We're not sure of the Dodge in lane number 2. Caught sleeping at the lights. Brent Duvey in his little red Mercury over there in lane number 1 is off and running. Leroy's catching up a little bit over there in lane number 2, but it looks like there's not long enough stretch to make it up, and there isn't, as Brent Duvey goes through for the win. And the lights are on, fellas. Don't sleep all day. We realize it's Sunday afternoon and it's a rough Saturday night. Well, we're getting a slow start this time. Kel Bauman going off there, getting a little with it after he woke up. It looks like Mr. Schweedy is not going to catch up down there. He's looking for a little snow over on the edge of lane number 1. And he doesn't seem to be able to get anywhere against Kel Bauman's Mazda over in lane number 2. And Kel Bauman going through for the win. Bill Smith over doing a real good job in that VW Beetle in lane number 2. Jim Morrison's going to have to do some catching up over in lane number 1. Ooh, Bill Smith getting a little crossed up there. But he's really sailing down in lane number 2 now. Gets the snowbank a little bit, and Bill Smith going through for the win. Well, Joe Bauman's up there now. We'll give him a couple seconds to line up. Racing today is stock snow tire class. And the lights are on and the bells are off and running. And it sure looks like Brent Doobie got a little start there. That Mazda was running real strong in the middle, but he's really having a tough time finding some traction over in lane number 1 today. Brent Doobie still out there by about 2 car lengths. Let's see if Kel Bauman can catch him down there in the stretch. But Brent Doobie putting it on down there and picking up steam all the way through to the line. And Brent Doobie is going through for the win. He will come around to run Bill Smith's green VW back here for the trophy. In the first stock tire class today is Mike Flieger. 35 is Tim Grueling. 6 is Jim Clark. And 25 is Tom Turner. That's the second class, the second stock tire class coming up today. Brian Galkey, Scott Sisson, John Wickey, Dave Butt, Cindy Tums, Mike Klemke, Mike Flieger, Tim Grueling, Jim Clark, and Tom Turner. The second class today, get them lined up. As soon as Brent Doobie comes...
I wanted to hear it.
And Brent Doobie goes over to lane number 2. That'll leave Bill Smith in lane number 1. Before these guys get off, we want to be sure and remind you, the first and second place finishers are to come back up for the first place trophy, or wins the trophy, and the second place finisher wins a bottle of wine again today. So both the first and second place finishers come back up to the line when you get done with the race. The lights are on. Let's see who's going to win the first trophy this afternoon. And over there, Bill Smith has got a good start in his VW Beetle. Ooh, he's sliding around a lot. Now Brent Doobie's starting to lose it a little bit, but it sure looks from here like Bill Smith got a little start. If he can keep that bug straight, he's going all over the place now. Pull him into a snowdrift. And he crosses the line first. Bill Smith in the green Beetle finishing first in the first race today. And there he goes, your winner today in stock 1 tires. Bill Smith in the green VW Beetle. He's still getting shaky out there. He must really like that. Brent Doobie in his red Mercury comes up for his bottle of wine courtesy in lane number 2. The fellas are off there. Boy, it looks like Jim Clark's off to an easy win in about a 55 holiday holes over in lane number 2. Brian Galkey's having a tough time getting his Camaro running over in lane. Got it. Cindy Toombs in the black Ford truck over in lane number 1. And in lane number 2, we got John Wickey's Mercury over there. John's at it again this weekend. And poor Cindy came over from Westboro today and is not doing well in her black Ford truck. Cindy Toombs, and there he goes across the line, and losing this afternoon to John Wickey's Mercury over in lane number 2. John Wickey going through for the win. And a couple station wagons running today. Mike? I wonder if, boy, we got questions here. We wonder if Flieger's trying to sneak one by us, if that's really a four-wheel drive Malibu or whatever. The snow tires on the front end. He's off to a good start. Mike Flieger off there, just about a car length or a car length and a half, maybe 2 car lengths now, seems to be stretching it out against Mike Klemke's Dodge over in lane number 1. And it is Mike Flieger going through for the win, beating out Mike Klemke's Dodge wagon. There, but we've got a couple classics out here running now with old roses. We understand that Tom's ready to run here. That motor has undergone a complete overhaul there, so he's out there ready to go. But Tim Grueling off to a good start in lane number 1, hugging in next to the snowbank there. And Tom Turner's going to have to do a little catching up with his older olds there. Tim Grueling in lane number 1 still seems to be out at least a car length ahead. And it is Tim Grueling going through for the win, beating Tom Turner. Just a second now. Looking for Scott Sisson in a Chevelle. And the lights are on. And it looks like Dave Buck got a poor start, but beat up for it about 10 feet off the start. And he's rolling down through there now. He's got about a 2 or 3 car length and pulling away from Jim Clark's 55, I believe that black and white Olds is in lane number 1. And Dave Buck is going through for the win. In lane number 1 now, we got the Malibu wagon, Mike Flieger. And in lane number 2, John Wickey's Mercury. Looks like an awful even start. Wickey's maybe got a door length. He's out there and rolling. Wickey's out there and running now. Got a couple car lengths on Mike Flieger's Malibu wagon. John Wickey stretching her out down there, both player class. Tim Grueling's Olds over in lane number 2. Looks like Tim Grueling's out there and running over in lane number 2. Boy, he's moving away down there from Dave Buck's big Pontiac over in lane number 1. And Tim Grueling going through for the win, beating out Dave Buck. He'll come around to run John Wickey's Mercury for the trophy in the second stock tire class. Wickey coming up into lane number 1. Tim Grueling's going to take his favorite lane over there in lane number 2. He's been doing a real... And the lights are on, the fellas are off and running, and it is Tim Grueling out for an early lead. Let's see if John Wickey's going to stay with him down there, maybe gain a little down through the middle. Tim Grueling's been having a real good time today running in lane number 2. He's been doing a job. Everybody comes up against him, and he is off and pulling away again today. And Tim Grueling is going through for the win today in the second stock tire class. Well, we all know Wickey. He'll be just as happy as a little bottle of one. Langbecker comes up in the old Firebird there. If anyone's waiting for today, and then them four-wheel drives will be coming out. And Zitta off to a real good lead. Has really rolling in lane number 2. He got a real good start coming out of there. Larry Langbecker's going to have to do a lot of catching up with the gold Firebird over in lane number 1. It doesn't look like he's going to give him the chance. He's motoring now down through lane number 2. And Ed Zitta going through for the win, beating out Larry Langbecker, who you'll see come back with dailies on that gold Firebird. And there we see Tim Grueling go down. Take it easy there, Wickey. Take it back again in running the nails later on this afternoon. Lane number 1, Gary Weber. If I was Kerry, I'd just put a set of bullhorns on the front of my Charger and tell everybody Mickey Joy was my uncle. The fellas are off, and Kerry Gilly again doing a good job. Lane number 2 seems to be the fast lane today. Last week, lane number 2, the guys couldn't win for losing over there. There just was no chance. They flooded both the lanes, trying to even up a little bit. Kerry Gilly going through for the win. The big brown girl with all the flashes and marks on there, but that is Mike Camlin in the old wagon. Mike Hanlon in lane number 2. Kelly Marquardt in the Gremlin in lane number 1. Let's see if Kelly can pull an upset here. Lane number 2 has been a pretty fast winner. And once again, that old wagon going out to a real good head start there. And that old wagon over in lane number 2. Mike Hanlon. And he goes through for the win as Kelly Marquardt gets a little crossed up down there just this side of the finish line. So and Peggy Basso seems to be hanging on that back bumper there of Steve Paul. Let's see if she can do a little catching up in the stretch, or if Paul's going to go down for another sure win over there in lane number 2. And it is Steve Paul going through for the win, beating out Peggy's Astros Pinto Cruiser. And we got a 302 powered Rambler American over here. Come up into lane number 1. Ed Zita is a Brown C28 Camaro out of Wausau.
As much as I hate to admit it, though, every time I try to lose. It's related to my mom.
And we got Ed Zita all lined up into lane number 1. Kevin Wenslick having a little tough time there getting straightened out in lane number 2. And Ed Zito off to a good start in lane. Seems to be the best start in lane number 1 today. Let's see if he can stay along with Kevin Wenslick down there in lane number 2. Looks like a real close race. That Camaro is just a little bit longer than that Rambler American. It is hard to tell if anybody's got any kind of lead down there. Looks like Ed Zita is going ahead down there in the top end of the stretch. Ed Zita going through for the win, beating Kevin Wenslick's Rambler with the 302 Ford in it.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's Charger. Now don't forget, Gary, there. Next week we want to see the ones on the front of that Charger, and we'll tell everybody Mickey's your uncle. And DP out there giving them the sign. The lights are on. The saws are off and running. Ed Zita pulled a bit of an upset in lane number 1 the last race. Let's see how that old wagon fares down through there. That's a big heavy wagon. You ought to have a lot of traction over there in lane number 1. But it looks like Kerry Gilly's pulling out. Kerry Gilly's got about a car length on him over there in lane number 2, and he's not slowing down now. And it is Kerry Gilly going through for the win, beating Mike Hanlon's heavy-duty gold old wagon. Lane number 2, Ed Zita is working his way around. I do it again over here. One of these fellas is going to be racing Kerry Gilly for the trophy in the last stock tire class today. So we're going to tell you the next class out is 122, Mike Reinhardt. 103 is Lee Nyball. 105 is Craig Schultz. 108 is Jeff Austin. 114 is Craig Dakins. 116 is Dave Dashevsky. 131 is Gary Harder. 127 is Mark Matz. 107 is Joe Pigeon. 104 is Roger Brooks. The first class of four-wheel drives today. Get those fellows lined up over there in the pits. Bring them cars out as Ed Zita lines up this brown C28 Camaro into lane number 1. In lane number 2, Steve Paul. A little green, a little primer, a little putty Cuda over there in lane number 2. They're off and running. And Ed Zita getting a dynamite start. He can come that way, and he likes lane number 1. He's doing a real good job. We're going to have a little change of flagmen, I believe, down there. And we see the Desert Fox cruising down that way as Ed Zita goes through for the win, beating Steve Paul's Cuda. He'll come around to run Kerry Gilly for the trophy. Kerry is lining up the coin right. He likes lane number Roger Brooks. Let's get those trucks lined up while we wait for Ed Zita to come back around and run Kerry Gilly for the trophy in the last stock tire class today. A few more of the sponsors this year for the 1982 Merrill Ice Draggers.
What?
I told you, yeah, just stay there. I'm only on.
Snyder's Bar, Bear Beverage, Anheuser, Transport Oil, Jim's Service, Emmett and Sons Incorporated, and Park City Liquor. Touche, or Joe Standard, Al's Body Shop, Stevers Country Way, Lee's Mobile, North Rider, Wausau, Social and Six, East Sales and Service, Church Mutual Insurance Company, Motor Service and Supply, Schneider Distributing, AJ Enterprise, Dennis Pike, Grun's Bar, Stillman Shell, Rue Supermarket, Phil's House of Guns, Jeff Locomone from Locomone Farms, Taylor's Corners, Ron and Queenie's Pizza Shop, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, and the Mobile Shop. Out here in the entrance to the pits, as Ed Zitta gets lined up into lane number 1. In lane number 2, Kerry Gilly, both guys running and winning in the lanes they're in right now this afternoon. It's ought to be a real close race. They're off and running, and Kerry Gilly seems to pull away from the line. Ed Zitta's going to have to do a little run. It looks like Kerry Gilly's got him by about half a car length, but Ed does real good in lane number 1 down through the middle. They're going to be staying right with it. We still got a real close race. I'd say less than a car length from here separates Ed Zitta in lane number 1, Kerry Gilly in lane number 2, and Ed Zitta pulls it out in the stretch. Ed Zitta going through for the win in lane number 1 in the brown Z28 Camaro. In the Central Wisconsin Mud Runners, in lane number 1, we have Lee Neibauer in the red CJ7. The first race coming up. And they've got the fellows lined up. Denny Pike's giving them the sign. The lights are on. The first four-wheel drive class today. Mike Reinhardt doing a lot of wheel spinning, but taking off over there in lane number 2. Lee Neibauer runs that Jeep a lot on there. Let's see if he's going to catch up over in lane number 1. Both boys sliding. Mike Reinhardt still shooting over there in lane number 2. There goes Kerry Gilly, the winner of the stock 3 tire class, as Mike Reinhardt goes through for the win. Or rather, sorry about that. Kerry Gilly got second. We don't want to make Ed mad at us there. He's got too many muscles for that. There goes the winner of the last class stock tires, Ed Zitta, in the brown Z28 Camaro. Kerry Gilly finishing second. And coming up into lane number 2, we got Dave Tashevsky, a CJ5 out of Wausau. Dave's having trouble finding a transmission, but class out here. Lights are on, the guys are off and running. Dave Tashevsky in lane number 1 running off here. It looks like Gary Harder's got a length start there, as his gas cap door opens up or something sticking out there a little bit. And it's still a close race. Looks like Gary Harder by a little bit. But it is not. Dave Tashevsky comes back in the top end of the stretch to beat out Gary Harder. Once again, another heat winner out of lane number 1. Lane number 1. We in a CJ5 in lane number 2. Looks like Mark Mass is doing a good job over there in lane number 2. He's off and running. Craig Schultz is going to have to get his CJ going. Both boys over on the edge looking for a little snow. Looks like a close race. Mark Mass going through for the win, beating out Craig Schultz. In lane number 1.
Yeah, Hamlin didn't think that was too nice.
Nice going.
Craig Dakin's off to a real good start over in lane number 2. Jeff Austin's going to have to do a lot of catching up, but I don't think he's going to make it today. As Craig Dakin's going through for the win, beating out Jeff Austin. In lane number 1, we got Joe Pigeon out of Marathon in the grid, hardtop. Roger Brooks and his DJ out of Schofield. The lights are on. Joe Pigeon out of Marathon in lane number 1 does not seem to find any traction there as Roger Brooks goes off to an early lead. Joe's going to have to get his little hardtop CJ going down there, but Roger Brooks isn't giving him a chance. He's rolling now in lane number 2. And going through for the win. Whoops, Joe's door opens up. Roger Brooks going through for the win, beating out Joe Pigeon. Roger Brooks in lane. The fellows in the same lanes they were when they won their first heat. The lights are on. That 4x4 love truck is off and running again. Boy, he really to, and he gets a whole lot of traction over there, and he's rolling. Dave Tushevsky caught up with in the stretch on the last race, but he just doesn't seem to have a chance. Mike Reinhardt smoking down through there in lane number 2. I think it is. Mark Mass, last week's winner of this class. You see him in lane number 2 out of Burnhamwood in that gray CJ going off to an early lead. Craig Dakins having a tough time finding some traction. Matt's getting a little shook up down there, bumps into a snowbank. But going through for the win is Mark Matt out of Burnhamwood. Roger Brooks. Mike Reinhardt, low running Mark Matt, last week's winner for the trophy. The first class of four-wheel drives today. The second class, while we're waiting here, is Mike Smith, Greg English, Ken Opick, Ernest Weisskopf, Mike Hammerding, Brad Truax, Gary Osmus, Mike Ventnor, and Darwin Harris. The next class of four-wheel drives. You guys down in the pits, get your trucks lined up. Mike Reinhardt, the blue Chevy love truck in lane number 1. Let's see if he's giving that Eagle a baby Eagle feed this afternoon as the CJ sputters once coming off the line. Reinhardt staying right with him over in lane number 1, crossing over looking for some better traction on the other side. It looks like Roger Brooks has got a little slow down in the stretch. And Mike Reinhardt up as Roger Brooks goes into the snow. We got another turnaround, but he keeps the CJ on its wheels. Roger Brooks goes for a ride, but it's not that bad. We've seen those CJs roll over here hitting the snow. We've had 2 of them spin around Craig Dakins last week. Roger Brooks this week. Both guys holding their machines on their wheels. A good job of driving down there, but he wasn't good enough to beat Mike Reinhardt's little log truck. And he'll come around to run Mark Mass for the trophy in the first class of four-wheel drives today. Mark Mass.
Same one. No, blue.
While we wait for Mike Reinhardt to come down, some more of the sponsors of the 1982 Merrill Ice Drags. The Touche Enterprises, Ross Record Service, Grand Central Station, who also are donating a bottle of wine for the second place finishers. KB Body and Paint Shop, Beacon Bar, Park City Credit Union, Taylor's Body Shop, B&D Motors, Merrill Manufacturing, first place trophy and awards, the Ross. He likes it over there in lane number 2. He's running lane number 1. Running for the trophy in the first class of four-wheel drives today. Mike Reinhardt got that little log truck about a length out ahead of Mark Mass's CJ over in lane number 1. Mike Reinhardt really sailing down through the middle. A little log truck really does the job on the ice out here, folks, and Mike Reinhardt goes through for the win in the first class of four-wheel drives today. Beating out Mark Mass, last week's winner, Cherokee over in lane number 2. Brad Truax out of Mosini, and that Cherokee, we've seen it run up before, and it's a strong runner. Let's see if Mike Zentner and that step-side Jimmy can do a job on him today. And it looks like a pretty even start there. Brad Truax getting crossed up. Let's see if Mike Zentner takes advantage of it. Brad Truax into the snow. Bouncing off those snowbanks and still pulling away from Mike Zentner, who can't seem to catch up in lane number 1. Brad Truax going through for the win, beating Mike Zentner's Desert Fox. And coming around, we got Mike Reinhardt's little log truck picking up his trophy in the first class of four-wheel drives today. And coming at you, Mark, courtesy of Grand Central Station, Mr. Mark Mass out of Burnhamwood in that gray CJ. Into lane, some lights in his mirrors over there, and he's rolling on as Darwin Harris going through for the win, beating Mike Hammerding. The second class of four-wheel drives today. We got a third and a fourth class of trucks yet before we bring the bikes on. We hope everybody will hang around as Ernest Weisskopf goes off to an early lead. He's got a good length out there ahead of the Bronco of Mike Smith in lane number 1. Let's see if Mike Smith can catch up down there in the stretch. Ernest Weisskopf staying right with it. Oh, Smith getting a little crossed up. Smith into the snow. Into the snow again. still sliding, does a 90-degree and boom into the snowdrift. Up he comes back out. Mike Smith didn't win that one, but he did put on Gary Osmith in the Ram Charger, and he'll be running Greg English. Good looking old style Bronco over. And it looks like Gary Osmith's got a real good start in lane number 1. Greg English is going to have to look for some traction over there. Greg English seems to be coming on down there in the top end. It's a close one up there. But Greg English going through. Going to be running fast.
Mike, you done a nice job.
Where did Mike do a nice job?
Yeah, Mike, you did a good
Yeah, Brad Truax in the Cherokee Chief over in lane number 1. In lane number 2, Ken Opeka out of Wausau in the old style Bronco. We got to back him up a little, get him lined up. Oh, he's good.
Oh, he's way ahead.
And we got Ken Opeka lined up over in lane number 2. Up, the lights were on, the fellas are off and running. Brad Truax off for a little bit of a lead. Ken Opeka staying right with him in lane number 2. Looks like Ken Opeka's pulling out there. He's got an open front, maybe a door. Brad Truax coming on strong in lane number 1, but it is Ken Opeka going through for the win, beating out the Super Chief over there, Brad Truax. Get him off the track. Get those snowmobiles back behind the fence. Get those sleds out of there! Well, we're going to have a little hold up now. Insurance says you stay behind the fence. While the plow truck gets out of the way down there. The second class, the four-wheel drive. 2 more to go, 4 bike classes today. And we have, I'm checking in here, 2 classes of nail cars. And Darwin Harris off to a good start over there in lane number 2. Darwin Harris going down there and running strong against Ernest Weiss Costa Dodge. Darwin Harris looking like he's got an easy win over there. Ken Opeka, last week's winner, lines up in lane 2. Those guys are getting lined up and getting going. Our third class of four-wheel drive today. They're off and running. Let's see which one of them old-style Broncos is going to do it. Looks like Craig English has got a little start. Ken Opeka catching up in the stretch. Ken Opeka, last week's trophy winner out here, is really hanging on over in lane number 1. Greg English is really going to have to roll to catch up down there. It looks like Ken Opeka possibly going through, and it is. Ken Opeka going through. Our Albert Altnitter, John Allen, Roger Reisner, David Zink, Steve Cook.
Hey, yeah? What am I supposed to do then?
Drink it.
Darwin Harris off to a good start in lane number 2. Running last week's trophy winner, Ken Opeka. Ken Opeka getting a little crossed up, running down there, sliding around. Ken Opeka is trying to catch up to Darwin Harris. And Darwin Harris going through for the win. In the second class, the four-wheel drives today. We're going to do a little plowing before we start our third class, but we'll be underway momentarily. Doing a little more plowing. Ken Opeka picks up his bottle of wine in that orange and white Bronco over in lane number 1, the second place finisher this week in the second class of four-wheel drive. Yeah, rock. I was there back up there, Mr. Allen. That ball seems to be coming pretty fast. And there goes Allen, the lane doctor, on his sponsor's list. And they're off to a good start. Roger Reisner and John Allen. John Allen off, maybe got a late start on him now in the brown Ford in lane number 2 as Roger Reisner gets a little crossed up halfway down. It looks like John Allen's out there, got a length or two on Roger Reisner, and there he goes. John Allen through for the win, beating Roger Reisner's white Ford out of Marathon. In lane number 1 in the red Ford. Should have recognized the truck. Bruce Schultz over there in lane. Bruce Schultz getting a good start to winning in that Dodge out now. Really doing some sliding around. Bruce Schultz in the club cab Dodge is still rolling strong out there. Albert Allcenter can't seem to find any traction in lane number 1. And it's a Blazer in lane number 2. Long box Chevy. Wes Grund out of Merrill comes up into lane number 1. Wes Grund in lane number 1. Dale Yordy in lane number 2. The third class of four-wheel drive, the 1982 Merrill Ice Drags, the second Sunday. And, wait a minute. And it looks like Dale Yordy's got a little bit of a lead, not much going down there past the lights. Dale Yordy seems to be pulling away in lane number 2. Left run getting sliding all over into the snow down there in lane number 1. And it is Dale Yordy going through for the win. Lane number 1 in the Ford. Dave Zink in lane number 1. Steve Cook in lane number 2. Steve Cook sliding a little, but that Blazer is running down in there in lane number 2. Seems to be the fast lane today, and everybody's having good luck over there. Steve Cook going through. Looks like he's got a couple lengths on Dave Zink's Ford. And it is Steve Cook going through for the win. Bruce Schultz comes around. We haven't had a winner come out of lane number 1 in last week. Roll the window out. Bruce Schultz in lane number 1. John Allen over in lane number 2. The lights are on. Let's see if that big gray dot. He's staying with him. John Allen's Ford. John Allen seemed to have a real tough time. It looks like he kissed the snowbank down through there. Bruce Schultz doing a lot of sliding, but he's keeping his foot down into it in that big long box Dodge. And it is Bruce Roger, I hope. Kevin Newmiller. Carl Benke. Brian Spring. Daryl. We got Dale Yordy over there in lane. Dale Yordy in lane number 2. Steve Cook, couple Merrill boys, and a Jimmy and a Blazer running it off down here. Well, I've been informed his name is
You already won that one.
Hawk, and he was in lane number 1, and he lost. Dale Yordy going through for the win. And he'll come around to run Bruce Schultz, long box, club cab Dodge over here. Before we... 119 is Mark drives out right now for the last class. We'll line him up. Bruce Schultz over here likes lane number 2. He's all lined up and ready to go. Bruce Schultz likes it over in lane number 2. He apparently won the coin toss, and he's headed that way. Dale Yordy in that blue and white Blazer is going to have to do the job over in lane number 1. Bruce Schultz won over there his last heat. Let's see if Dale Yordy can come from behind in that lane where the folks just don't seem to be doing good today. Just streaking off down through there. Dale Yordy's going to have to do a lot of catching up in lane number 1. Bruce Schultz crossing up and sliding. Dale Yordy sliding now halfway down. Bruce Schultz with a big long lead down through there. It's Bruce Schultz going through for the trophy. coming up into lane number 2. Lane number 1, we're waiting on the winners and the second place finisher of the last class. Bruce Schultz swinging around the corner, picking up his trophy from Louis Elstrom over there. The winner of the third class appointment at Long Box Club Cab Dodge. And Dale Yorty in the blue fourth class of four-wheel drive today. A big tall Ford comes up. Okay, we got to see something to be thankful for, I guess. Kevin Newmiller in the big blue Ford out of Medford is going to be running. Daryl Jaggedy. And they got the lights on. Whoa, look at that one. It looks like Newmiller's got a diesel forward short box Ford over there. I'm not sure, but Daryl Jagodinski's not waiting around to see. He's off and running down there in lane number 2. And it is Daryl Jagodinski going through for the win. A couple of number 2. The second race for the last class, the four-wheel drive today is Mark Winkelman off to a good start. John Gassner hanging on, but getting a little crossed up. If Gassner can straighten his out, he's got a chance, but he's still losing it. He's just sliding around. Mark Winkelman going down in a pretty straight line. The straight line is the shortest to the finish as Gassner fights the snowdrift. Mark Winkelman going through for the win. Well, Matthew's off and running. If he does good, we'll ask him the next time around. But Matthew, I believe it's Rozier out of Medford in lane number 2. Seems to be doing a good job in his red and white Ford there. Carl Benke in lane number 1 out of Edgar's going to have to do a little catching up down there. It looks like Matthew Rozier all the way, and he goes through for the win, beating Carl Benke. Camper Special comes up into lane number 1. And he'll be running. Don't see Bobby Akers over there.
Guys, I can't even get that whole truck here.
Rolling Chevrolet that we understand is for sale in case anybody's interested in a four-wheel drive. Bob says he'd like to sell that one. And we'll be seeing how good he's going to do against Tim Winkelman's super long 3+3. That's one for the wife and kids and a few of the neighbors there in lane number 1. And it looks like Bob Akers got a good start out of lane number 2. Tim Winkelman's going to have to do some catching up over in lane number 1. Tim Winkelman doing a good job in practice, but is he coming through? Not today. Bob Akers going through for the win, beating out Tim Winkelman. Long box, long cab, 1-ton Chevy. Another one of the fellows out of Medford today is another smooth-looking Ford. Brakes on it, out of Wausau in lane number 2. Get your windows rolled up, the lights are off, and both fellows are running. Number 129 is Brian Spreen in lane number 1, off to a good start. In lane number 2, Mark Brettles Dodge is going to have to do some catching up. We didn't really notice if Mark was sleeping on the line or what the problem was, but Brian Spreen by far the best finish today over in lane number 1 as Brian Spreen goes through for the win, beating out Mark Brettles number 1 in the black Ford. Daryl Jagodinski comes up. CMC. Roll your window up, Mr. Roth, is what they're trying to tell you. These two fellows finished first and second last week. Daryl Jagodinski winning, I believe. Let me check one more time. Daryl Jagodinski winning this class last week, and Eric Roth finishing second. Let's see how they're going to do today. We know they're not going to finish second. They're both running a little early today as Eric Roth off and running down there in lane number 2. Daryl Jagodinski's going to have to do some catching up in lane number 1. He's running strong, but not quite good enough. Eric Roth going through for the win. Roger, you're not French at all. Good grief. I guess I murdered Matthew Roger's name. He's got a nice red and white Ford out of Medford over there in lane number 1. In lane number 2, a smooth-looking Bronco, Mark Winkelman out of Merrill. Running through the stretch up there. It looks like a close race between Matthew Winkleman going through for the win. I'm telling you, folks. Lane green comes up into lane number 1. In that silver and black, red striped blue, looking forward over there. Can do some catching up with that tall gray Chevrolet. Bob Anker's holding on. Both guys getting a little shaky, and it looks like Brian Spree's out and running in lane number 1. And Brian Spree going through for the win, beating out Bob Anker. They're really coming on. The guys back in the right pit, they're going to fall before you come out. You might want to not start up quite yet and follow your plugs, but the lanes are going to get followed. And the lane number 1, which all of a sudden seems to be for the trophy for the last class, the four-wheel drive today. They're off and running, and it looks like Eric Ross got a little bit of a start. Mark Winkleman up in the snowbank and got it out, but he lost a little time. Let's see if Mark Winkleman can bring it back over there in lane number 1. Eric Ross rolling down through, and Eric Ross going through for the win, beating out Mark Winkleman. You know, he's a consistent runner out here. The lanes will be plowed, and then we'll be looking at out there. The fellas in lane number 1 have not been having a lot of luck. They're off and running, and Brian Spree does take about a no start on Eric Ross coming out of the line. Let's see if Eric Ross is going to make it up in the stretch. Those guys very, very close. Less than a truck length separates Eric Ross in lane number 1. Brian Spree in Brian Spree in lane number 1. And we have 2 classes of nail cars. And that'll be it for today. The bikes and the nail cars will be coming up right after they blow all that snow off the lanes. The fellows in the two-wheel drive cars and the trucks look for that snow to get a little traction off them tires. The fellows that come over here with a studded up car, Merrill again, Bush Distributors, the Wausau, Chico's Wrestling, the Wausau, Frisch's Bar, Westside TV and Radio Shack, GTV Auto Parts, Northside Street.
Your old lady's gonna kill me.
The guys who line up the bikes, I'm going to ask them to make sure and have the guys look toward the truck so we can get a look at that number on their chest, just in case we don't see them coming up in the line back. Unless we have to run that other lane again. Out of Marathon on a 125 Suzuki in lane number 1. Lane number 2 is Steve Cole on a Athens on a 125 Yamaha. Looks like Dave Boyd's got a second to get. He's trying to get her back down and run here. First bike class is running today. It looks like those two 125s are real close. Maybe Bo's got a little nose out in front in lane number 2, and he does go through for the win. 175 Yamaha Rothschild is Mike Steele in lane number 2. And Mike Steele, a strong wind runner and constant winner out here on the ice, goes through for the win. Suzuki out of Merrill number 2. In lane number 1, we got Steve Ball on Athens. In lane number 2 on 125 Suzuki, we got Mark Winkleman. Good start on Steele. Steele's going to have to do some catching up in the stretch. Waller was watching that light. He was gone. And Donnie Waller. Leroy Jonas had a tough time going, but they're coming out strong now. Him and Steve Ball are running neck and neck up there through the stretch. And it is Steve Ball on a 125 Yamaha out of half. Also racing for a trophy. I should have mentioned that. Yamaha going, bringing up, coming off the line. It looks like Donnie Waller's got a good start out there. Let's see if he can hang on through the stretch. And Donnie Waller goes through for the win, beating out Steve Ball. A couple 250 Yamahas, the first race in the second class today, and it's Ron Hayes. And here on a 250 Honda comes up into lane number 1. He'll be running Joe Wojcicki, Joe Paco out of Wausau over in lane number 2. Joe has been racing. Getting a good start out of lane number 2. Pat Hare is going to have to do some catching up in the stretch, but Pat Hare makes it. Moves enough. Del Wojcicki for the win. Coming up into lane. Ron Hayes in lane number 1. Going through for an easy win. It looks like Randy Rasmussen cannot get. And he will come around. Ron Hayes on a 250 Yamaha out of Wausau will come around and run Pat Henner's 250 Honda out of Merrill for the trophy in the second class of bikes today. It looks like Pat Henner got that Honda running, but Ron Hayes is turning on down there to the middle on his Yamaha. And it is Randy Hayes going through for the win. Pat the jungle where the natives are getting restless over by the fence, are they not? The third class of bikes, 98 is Tom Schrader on a 490 Mako out of Wausau. Number 30 is Randy Charneski on a 400 Suzuki out of Mosinee. 54 is Chris Wilson on a 465 Yamaha out of Schofield. And lane number 1 on a Yamaha. There was And today for the trophy in the last class of Ed Livingston, Rick Langbecker, Kenny Hinner, Rick Weber, Jeff Martine, Gary Weber, Mike Thomas, and Bruce Dejinski, the first class of Neo cars today. Martin across the point, he came up into lane number 1 right away. On his 1100 Yamaha, Bob Anchors on his 1100 Suzuki coming up into lane number 2. Both guys trying to get between the flags. They got a ball lined up. They're getting this guy. Bob Anchors showed a lot of ice, but getting a good start. Tom Marty all over the track down there. Looked like he almost lost control of his 1100 Yamaha and could not come on in the stretch. Bob Anchors going through for the win. Rick Weber brings his trusty and rusty 63 Chevy Bel Air up into lane number 1. In lane number 2, Rick Langbecker in it. Ready, man? Rick Weber, strong over there in lane number 1. They're getting the Ricky Weber is flying down in lane number 1 and doing as good a job as he did last week. Ken Hinner in the red, white, blue duster comes up into lane number 1. He gets turned around and gets those cars out of the lane. We got Gary Weber over here in lane number 1. We're two rather. Lane number 1 is Ken Hinner in the red, white, blue duster. Kenny Hinner coming off strong. Gary Weber staying with him, but not being able to make up the difference. And Kenny Hinner going through for the win. Jeff Martine on Edgar in the Plymouth in lane number left for a Mike Coon. And Jeff Martine coming off strong in that Plymouth over in lane. That one is Jeff Martine, winning in lane number 2. Ed Livingston brings a black 55 Chevy. A smooth looker up into lane number 1. Number 1 in lane number 2. The got the black 55 flying as he goes through for the win. We call it black before, but it's a green Bel Air. A real flyer coming up into Ken Hinner got to back that duster up and get her between the flags. Over in lane number 1. Weber in that flying Bel Air. They went into the trophy last week. They're running again. It's a real close race down there. Really close. Beating out Rick Weber. second class and nearly cars will be coming out right after Ed Livingston runs Ken Hitter for the trophy in the first class and Neil cars today. Ken's calling the coin right now over there. And it looks like he couldn't pick his lane. He's pulling back out of the way. Ed Livingston is going to have the choice of lane. A few of the sponsors for the 1982 Merrill Ice Drags: Associated Enterprises, Rock Record Service, Grand Central Station, where the Ice Drag movies are after the races. They give lane to the second place finishers again today. Disney Body and Station Bar. Oh, Grand Central Station has also got a special on pictures up here at wine today. Ed Livingston takes lane number 1. Park City Credit Union, Taylor's Body Shop, B&D Motors, Merrill Manufacturing, Livingston Department Store, Rich Appliance Center, River Home Furnishing, Johnson United Foods, Roses Coverall, Russell Rowland, Biloxi Attorneys, Merrill Chocolate Photo News, Don Third State Liquor, Ed Livingston is gone and running, and Kenny cannot catch up to him now. As Ed Livingston beautiful car and a real strong runner. Ricky Weber is flying down in lane number 1 and doing as good a job as he did last week. Ken Hitter and the rear white and blue duster comes up into lane number 1. Get turned around and get those cars out of the lane. We got Gary Weber over here in lane number 1. Or 2 rather. Lane number 1 is Ken Hitter in the red, white, blue duster. Kenny Hitter coming off strong. Gary Weber staying with him, but not being able to make up the difference. And Kenny Hitter going still for the win. Jeff Martin out of Edgar in the Plymouth in lane number left for Mike Coon. And Jeff Martin coming off strong in that Plymouth over in lane. That one is Jeff Martin winning in lane number 2. Ed Livingston brings a black 55 Chevy. A blue looker up into lane number 1. Number 1 in lane number 2. The blue. We call it black before, but it's a green bell there. A real flyer coming up into Ken Hitter got to back that duster up and get her between the flags. Over in lane number 1. Weber and that flying bell there. They went into the trophy last week. They're running again. It's a real close race down there. Really close. Beating out Rick Weber. trophy in the first class of nail cars today. Kev's calling the coin right now over there. And it looks like he couldn't pick his lane. He's pulling back out of the way. Ed Livingston is going to have the choice of lane. A few of the sponsors for the 1982 Merrill Ice Drags. Touche Enterprises, Rock Record Service, Grand Central Station, where the Ice Drag movies are after the races. They give warnings to the second place finishers again today. Casey Body and Casey Bar. Oh, Grand Central Station has also got a special on pictures up there at wine today. Ed Livingston takes lane number 1. Park City Credit Union, Taylor's Body Shop, B&D Motors, Merrill Manufacturing, Livingston Department Store, Great Appliance Center, Miller Home Furnishings, Johnson United Foods, Bruce's Coverall, Russell Rowland, Biloxi Attorneys, Merrill Chocolate Photo News, Don Fifth Street Liquor, Ed Livingston is gone and running, and Kenny cannot catch up to him now. As Ed Livingston beautiful car and a real strong runner. He took the lead, number 1.
Waiting for trophy.
And there he goes. And there he goes, standing in the red, white, blue duster. In lane number 1. Going through for the red.
Looks like she comes off behind
And here's last week's second place. In lane number 1, we have another Merrill boy. The second race, the last one of the nail car today. back out of the weeds down there. Radio Shack, UTC Auto Parts, Northside Bank, Transport Oil, Gym Service, Event & Sons Incorporated, Park City Liquor, Joe Standard, Al Body Shop, Stevens Country, number 2. Steve Christensen out of Mosinee. Steve Christensen in the dumpster out of Mosinee in lane number 1. He'll be running Scott Dillon. Christensen wins as Scott Dillon fell down with a big lead and seems to be holding on. Scott Dillon goes through for the win, beating up a few more of the sponsors are Carl's Liquor Store, Merrill Fire and Ambulance, High Rebel Wausau, All Carl Wausau, Canispo Velocity, Club 107, Northern Auto, Chip Smith. Comes up into lane number 2. In lane number 1, getting lined up, we've got Larry Langbecker in the Gold Firebird. Clark, he'll tell you if you look over here, back up. They got the cars out there. We're getting so close to a trophy run for this class. Hold it. Will be running Tim Clark for the trophy today in the last class. Modified tires, second class. One thing you can't say today is you didn't have excitement. We had time. The guys are lining up and getting them cleaned out. Kevin Krieger in lane number 1. Scott Shields in lane number 2. Catching Krieger body shop. B&E Motors, Merrill Manufacturing, Livingston Department Store, Group Appliance Center. Good Home Furnishing, John's United Foods, Grocery Coverall. Local Plus,
If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Thank you.